So I will indeed call the select board meeting to order, and just say a big welcome and thank you for all of you being here tonight. I have become a big fan of these all hand meetings, because it's so hard to have any kind of conversation with a big cross section of folks in the community that are interested in participating and help keep us going. We especially appreciate our talented and dedicated staff, and of course our invested and equally talented volunteers. We honestly couldn't do all that needs to be done without all of you here tonight and many others. I wanted to take a minute too to recognize, it just happens to be timely. I know a couple people are retiring soon, but Maria Casey just sent out her notice. I saw it today. I assume it came out today. I didn't check the timestamp. That this will be her last week. And we just want to take a second to appreciate her for her years of dedicated service and the ways that she has helped bring the HR department and the town forward while she's been here with us. I also wanted to congratulate the school department. Carol already said it in our pre-meeting, the school department, the school committee, and all the voters who participated in making a decision to invest in a very big way in continuing to meet the needs of our growing school population. So very, very good news for all of us. A lot of work ahead, but it feels great to be investing in Hopkinton in this way and investing in school kids and families this way. So, and we certainly appreciate everybody attending special town meeting and the vote. I joke, and I almost missed it yesterday. I told like 7 people to remind me, because it's tricky to remember to off-time vote and off-time participate. And so for everybody who made it a priority, we sure appreciate you. This year, as you know, John has sort of suggested it, and most town leaders, and I hope volunteers and participants on this meeting know that we're going to be prioritizing strategic planning. It's one of the things I love doing the most, and I want to just encourage everybody who is participating, department heads, volunteers, boards and committees, but most especially the voters and residents at home, to make sure that their voice is heard. They find a way to participate. They encourage us to make sure the process is accessible and open, and we really get to hear from people so that we can vision together. We can identify our strengths, identify our gaps, and start to really think about where we want to be together in the next 5 or 10 years. So I really appreciate everybody's attendance tonight, and I will look forward to people participating in the next many months as we do the strategic planning. Thank you.
Norman, over to you.
Yes, thank you, John. On behalf of the town senior leaders, I really want to say welcome, and thank you for taking time off your busy schedules to join us tonight. The headline for me is that Hopkinton continues to prosper and thrive. And here's why. 3 big reasons. Number one, we are now a $5 billion community in terms of our assets. The last time we met, we were approximately $4.1 billion. Secondly, our school system continues to be the #1 school system in the Commonwealth. And then last but not least, we continue to be one of the safest small towns in the US of A. And those 3 things present us as a prosperous and thriving community. Why? It's because we plan, we're deliberate, and we deliver through collaboration. It stands to reason that the future of Hopkinton begins with our continued collaboration in that regard. Good collaboration amplifies strength. We are gathered tonight, as we have done in the past, to achieve some shared dialogue. Why that is important is because it enhances our capabilities, it expands our institutional capacity, it inspires our collective intelligence, and most importantly, because we're doing this in an open meeting, it adds value to our commitment to expanding the visibility into the town's decision-making processes. At the beginning of this fiscal year, your senior leaders, department heads, began a process of developing their annual goals for their respective departments. And we are going to be sharing those goals with you tonight. And for some of us, this was what we've done in past years. And for others, it was something relatively new. However, what you're going to hear tonight are three things: the interdependence and collaboration between departments, the very precise alignment of goals and strategies between departments, and the overall town's overarching goals. And thirdly, you'll also hear a commitment to providing high quality public services. And in most cases, while delivering those services, striving to be fair, to be efficient, to empower the community, to meet our goals for diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, and care. Tonight's meeting will be facilitated by John Wortman. I feel as if it's unfair to be introducing John because we've worked with John for 3 to 4 years now. He's a best-selling author of Mastering Communication at Work, as well as he's an executive coach and trainer to cities and towns across New England. He has worked with us here in Hopkinton as senior leaders as a collective group, and also he's been available to some of us individually for some good counseling. And at this point, we'll turn this over to John.
It's a privilege to be with you all this evening, and we're going to do our work tonight in 2 parts. The first is vision and goals from your senior leaders. And I'm going to ask you to hold questions to about a third and a third and a third through the 15 different presentations that will be about 2 minutes each. And so we'll do them in chunks because we want to be able to not have the ideas be too far from our minds. We will take a break at the top of the hour for 5 minutes. There's no reason you should sit in front of a Zoom screen for more than 2 hours. This is good TV, but it is not a movie, and you don't have your popcorn. So we'll get you a break at the top of the hour. We may spend a little bit more than 2 hours tonight if we need it, because the second part of our evening is a strategic planning teaser. And so we're going to talk about why strategic planning. We're going to give you an introduction to what strategic planning can be. We're going to do an exercise around vision and then give you a chance to give feedback to your select board and your senior staff as they think about what we'll do in that 5 or 10-year plan, as Muriel said. Any questions about our agenda for the evening? Then let us begin with Amy. Tell us about our seniors. What's your vision for them? And what are your goals? And it'll be Dawn who's up next.
Great. So the vision for senior services is and continues to be a community where seniors and individuals can thrive. Our goals as we go into it is actually working with our own needs assessment so that we can prepare a strategic plan for senior services. So I'll make a little plug. If you received one in the mail, make sure you mail it in. We still need that information. But also we're looking to enhance our current and seek new programming to help promote inclusiveness and belonging in Hopkinton. And a couple ways that we're doing that is we are enhancing our newsletter to provide a low vision version for people. And we're also working as a pilot program for our nutrition program, which we will be expanding this winter. And we're looking to continue to promote Hopkinton as an age and dementia-friendly community, which for me is just more of a caring community that we want to see Hopkinton as. Overall, We want a sense of belonging for all, with the support and services as needed. We look to create an environment in senior services and at the senior center that is welcoming to all residents. This welcome feeling not only means that they're active and engaged at the senior center, but also that within the larger community, because we want seniors to feel that they can continue to live safely and well in their homes. And working with other departments and other groups in town, we are striving to do just that. We want Hopkinton to be known not only for its excellent schools, but as a place where its residents can continue to live well into their retirement years. So basically, we're looking for a sense of belonging for all.
Brilliantly said. Tell us, Dawn, what you've got for our seniors, and Andrea, you'll be up next talking about the library.
Sure. So I'm Dawn from Youth and Family Services, and our vision is we're here to help. And that's been our vision for a long time. And this year's focus is on listening, connecting, and empowering. And as I looked over our goals, it's really about listening to the people we serve and creating that environment that they have a lot of say in how they connect with us and in what our programming looks like. So to kick off our goals, we want to formalize the youth voice in all programs that serve youth by fiscal year 2025. And we're well on our way. We have 3 youth interns that are paid interns through a grant, and we're very fortunate to have them. And they are already creating programming, making suggestions about when they want the help and where they want the trainings and what topics they want to see and what their peers are looking for. So that's very exciting. And then we want to launch a new intake and referral process to streamline access to resources, services, and programs. And it's an exciting time because, as you know, we hired Holly Morand in the role of resource counselor case manager. Resource counselor case manager. She's on this call as well. And, already has added value by streamlining our technology and how folks will be able to connect with us in different ways and how we can record their connection. And so we're really excited within the next few months to launch a new way for departments to reach into us, for the public to reach in and know who they're getting, but also to really streamline our intake process and triage. And then the third goal is to conduct a comprehensive needs assessment to gather data about the behavioral health needs of residents to support and guide the work of our department and the region. We have a grant that is region focused. And so we know what we do, we don't do in a bubble. And if people are healthier around us, we're healthier too. So we're just very excited about the year ahead. Thank you.
In 2000.
I got to just give a nod to my great team. Colleen Souza, Cassandra Bigness, Lauren DeLello, and our newest addition, Holly. I feel like nothing would be happening if it wasn't for the beauty of these people and how much they really care for residents.
In the 2023 goals, we talked about mental health and mental wellness as a human right. And that's why we opened with Amy and Dawn tonight, because we wanted you to experience the places where you're taking extra energy, extra research about what you need, and then actually coming up with those new solutions more widely and more comprehensively. But none of those solutions are going to work unless we are the most educated community. Tell us about all the resources we have, Andrea, in terms of our library services.
Thank you, John. I'm Andrea. I'm the head of youth services and the acting library director. The library's vision is to inspire exploration, discovery, and engagement, and we do that by ensuring equitable access to materials, programs, and services. And I'm very excited because I think we have a very thorough action plan that we've developed for 2024, and in short, we are looking to become identified as the best small library in America. And so in order to accomplish this, our goals are to first meet the needs of the currently underserved in our community. And some examples of that might be providing home delivery services to those who are homebound, providing collections in a variety of formats, but also languages as we are a growing and diverse community, even providing adaptive technology, adaptive technology, and even continuing to provide sensory-friendly programs. We started doing that this year, and we hope to expand that further into other programs. Our goal is to also ensure that our materials are accessible and available when needed. And so this coming year, we'll be focusing our funds on materials in a variety of formats and languages, as I mentioned before, as well as increasing our digital collection. We're finding that Hopkinton residents are some of the biggest users of the CW Mars Network's digital collection, and we would need to add additional copies to reduce those wait times. And then last, we want to increase collaboration and communication with members of our community and other town entities to support, cultivate, and expand library services. We are in really a great time of community outreach at the library, and I'm hoping that we can expand that even more. This year myself, I've spent a lot of time going into the local preschools, as well as the second grade classrooms, and I hope to get into the fourth grade classrooms. But we also hope to expand that to other community organizations like Parks and Rec to offer pop-up library services at community events, or to work with Youth and Family Services to provide library cards and resources to families in need. As well as maybe inviting town staff to serve as guest librarians to choose topics on books on topics of interest to them. So we're really excited for that 2024 action plan.
Notice the collaboration, but also notice in our first three speakers that you're getting outreach into the community. This is what Hopkinton is doing better than almost any other town I work with, because you're taking the intentional effort to go find what people need and find people where they are. That's true inclusivity. And that's what we're going to have to think about with the strategic plan. How do we get everyone's perspective when it's not always easy to find people? We're doing that so interestingly through digital solutions and visiting people where they are. Well done. Chief Joe, you're next, and Gary, you're going to be after. Chief Gary, sorry.
Thank you, John, and good evening, everybody. This might be our fourth year. I know I have an FY22 slide somewhere, so it's good to be here with everybody talking about the future and how we're all going to move the community and our departments and committees and boards forward. For the Hopkinton Police Department, our vision is to be here for everyone always. We're a 24/7 industry, and people call us when they don't know who else to call. So a lot of times we do a lot of referrals and we do a lot of connecting people. So it's everyone always. Specifically, our priority goals, given what we have going on at 74 Main Street, we want to continue to build with community interaction and relationship building. We know that that is at the heart of building trust in the community and making our capacity and ability to serve exponentially grow. And we serve at their will, and we serve for them. So we know that, and that the more they trust us and the more we interact with them and we understand them, the better we can do that. I want to focus this year on promotion and professional development of both the rank and file staff. I want to develop, we have new officers and we have more senior officers, and I want to develop them. We know that well-trained, well-educated officers traditionally serve the community in exceptional ways. And we have some promotions we need to make, and then to also support the command staff and develop their skill set, which we know will grow bench depth as well as take some workload off of people. And recruitment and retention in our industry is difficult. Recruitment in many industries is difficult, but and in law enforcement, I've never seen a more difficult time to recruit. We used to have 150 people, 130, 150 people take our test, and now we get 3 applicants. So it's tough. We're gonna have to keep working on that, and I have started plans and want to continue through FY25 for that. But the beauty of it is in my job, I get to see and hear about the amazing work that the people that work with me do. I'm proud to work beside them. I don't go a week without an email or someone bringing cookies in to say thank you, or a phone call praising the work of the officers. I mean, it has been about 18 hours since the last kudos letter that I got, and it really drives me and the organization. So that's what I got, John.
I love it, Chief. Chief Gary, you're up next, and then we're going to take our first round of questions. Megan, you'll lead off section 2 of tonight's presentations.
Good evening, everybody. The fire department's vision for the upcoming year is to establish a vibrant and inclusive fire department committed to the well-being and safety of our community and its employees regarding mental health, physical, and environmental. Some of our goals is we really want to build out our community risk reduction program. We want to assist the aging and at-risk population with additional services. For example, to reduce the number of falls and decrease the number of ER reattendant rates. We want to do that by expanding our community outreach. Another one of our goals is to offer additional mental health services and training to our employees. This is going to be in collaboration with the Youth and Family Services. I've been working with Dawn on a couple projects. And lastly, we're going to look at the overall energy usage of the building and some of the new green technologies that are coming forward.
What's great about our old goal of addressing climate change is that everyone can do it in every part of their organization. And we love that fire is helping us lead the way there. Questions from anyone in the room tonight, you can either write them, you can raise your hand virtually, or in this first moment, you can shout out your question. You're up, Gary. Thank you.
Hi, John. Some of the speakers already alluded to this, but I'm curious to hear from the departments how they plan to address some of the turnover issues that we've seen really across all departments in the last couple of years.
Chief Joe, why don't you start? What are you going to do in terms of turnover? And then I'll let any of the other 4 who've spoken already chime in. And I'll keep that question, Gary, and ask it of others as we go through the evening. How are we fighting turnover, Chief Joe?
Sure. That's a great question, Gary. It's not an easy one. I think it begins by there's your work, and then there's your environment. And I think that we in Hopkinton, we have a very caring environment for our employees. We take care of each other, and we're there for each other when things happen, because things happen, to everybody. And I think that it begins with that. It begins with having good equipment, so you're not struggling with that. It begins with putting our police station back together after the great flood of February 2023, which is almost done. Thank you, Dave. And it begins with training and motivating them and trying to work towards where they want to go and what their strengths are and what, is that me? To see what drives them, and how we can feed that drive.
So really thinking about the motivations of our employees, getting them training, getting them the right gear, and creating an environment where people want to stick and thrive. From our other 4 participants so far, what would you add?
Luckily for the fire department, our turnover is very low. But the one thing that we've been looking at is what the younger firefighters want and how to really get their full buy-in in the organization, whether it's like a certain type of equipment or just an idea. We've been trying to get them more involved with the strategic plan and the long-term goals of the department, so they feel like they have the buy-in and say the direction that we're headed.
Participation of all levels of the organization. Dawn, what would you add?
I would add, I can resonate with Joe about the difficulty in hiring and how challenging it can be to fill a position. We have a position open right now for our program coordinator, clinician. But I think what I love about working with our team is their passion. And so we really try to focus on the things that they're passionate about, as well as the community's needs and how they marry together in sometimes seamless and really beautiful ways. And so it's been, a pleasure to watch people grow. And the latest person that left, it was because they were growing in a direction and finding themselves as a clinician, and it was a different path. And so we celebrate that, but it's hard to, to see somebody go. But yeah, to retain, I think it's really just like what everybody's saying, it's an echo of really looking at people's passions, what they care about in this very public facing work and in this service work, and finding those niches to help them grow and be the very best that they can be, even if it means they grow in a different direction from us.
It's okay for us to become a talent academy where we actually get people into surrounding communities doing the great work because they grew up here. And we want people who want to stay to be able to stay. DPW is one of the hardest places to keep people, Carrie. You're new to us. What are you doing to attract talent?
Putting me on the spot, huh? The best way we attract talent is that we have a good team. So, the people that we have are dedicated, like everybody said, to service. And they really take a lot of pride in their work. And they're the reason why people want to come here and want to stay here. And I think we just need to show value and appreciation. So, Chief was like, he gets the cookies. DPW doesn't get the cookies.
Yep.
So
the appreciation matters, and actually showing people the value of service is one of the best and the most important things. I work in lots of corporations in addition to school districts, and there's a huge difference between town, municipal, school district work and what you do in corporations. And one of the things we have to keep emphasizing is we are not a business. We are a community. We are a home. We are a set of services that are being offered to truly connect people to each other. And that is something that is going to attract people in the work we do. Would you add anything, Andrea or Amy?
I would just say that we don't typically have quite that much turnover here at the library, and we really try to play to our workers' strengths and interests, just as Dawn was saying. We're really lucky to have a good team over here. When people do leave the library, it's usually because they're fortunate to find full-time work and they were in a part-time position here, and we congratulate them on that. But we have a wonderful team here that we've been able to retain, and we're growing too, which is great.
Amy.
Yeah, I would say just about what everyone else has said, and it works. I think what we're very fortunate in senior services is we have an extremely dedicated team, and everyone is always willing to jump in wherever they are needed. There's no ego in that respect, and I love that. And I think that's what keeps everyone together, is that they care about the people that they are serving and helping, and they care about each other. And so they want to make sure that everyone does well in our department. And I think that's huge, because if you don't grow, you don't go anyplace. And I think that's what we're seeing, is we're always looking for a place and ways for staff to grow.
And one of the things that Maria did in her career here was to really emphasize development and give people opportunities, whether it was training around DEIB or whether it's skills like communication or managing stress to be more effective. It's something as a town you've paid attention to. Any other questions for the group of five? You're up, Matthew.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's a question mostly for youth services, but really something I'm hoping to just hear discussed in general tonight. So the question I most get on the street is, oh my God, how are we going to pay for it? Not what I intend to ask. The second question is, what are we doing to give our kids something to do? Do we understand that there is more to the life of our children than the excellence of our schools? So I'm hoping tonight, as we talk and we strategically plan, we're going to have a discussion about how we plan to engage and activate this growing population of youth in the town, and to give them something positive to do so that they can reflect the asset that we view them as in the community. Because right now, I don't know that that's the experience some of our business and commercial customers are having with our youth.
Yeah, what a great question, Matthew. Dawn, you first, then I'm going to turn to you, John, to give us the Parks and Rec angle, and then Carol, you'll give us a final angle from the schools.
Thank you, Matthew, for that question. We are engaging youth in programming around changing their community and shifting their community culture. And so HOP Youth is a group that meets and is growing. We are hiring youth to give them something to do. And we have other grants where we'll make it possible to bring on a few more interns in that regard. And, youth services is not an activities group in the sense of we don't promote, we promote other people's youth activities through the Youth Commission, but we don't do consistent youth center programming. So we do a lot of mental health education. We try to help youth figure out who they are with the options they have, and who they identify themselves as, what are their passions, and how can they follow those. And in a very specific way, we've been looking at the kids that don't fit the cookie cutter mold of like, oh, the best grades, taking AP classes, knowing the straight pipeline to college and the GPA. And there are a number of kids that, either silently are walking with a different reality or very publicly have said, I don't fit and I don't know where I belong and I don't know how to get there. And I don't know who to talk to about it. And so we are working on a process of identifying those kids in a different, a way outside of the school system and helping them grow through programs like Mass Hire, helping them through mentoring programs. We have some other ideas about helping them find employment in things that do matter to them. And so like, I can't speak openly about it until we've locked some more things down, but we're on it. Like we're looking at kids that are very diverse and have very different approaches to their world, and how can they contribute in ways out of the box where they feel and know that they are just as valuable, precious, and engaging as the kid who is on the path that is traditional in the minds of people anyway, with Hopkinton Youth, that 4-year plan to get into a college and all of that. So
that's super helpful, Dawn. And what's great about starting with Dawn is you're seeing what we're doing to truly be inclusive. And then what do you try and offer to every child, John? One of the things that we did in Parks and Rec back in the day is we maybe focused too much on kids. And so what was the result of that, John? What do we have for offerings for kids of all stages in life?
Absolutely, yeah. So traditionally, you think of Parks and Recreation as, field sports or basketball, gym sports, but, the demand has pivoted, especially in the past 10 years, and more so during COVID as well, of the non-traditional sports programs. So we're looking more at STEM programs, art programs, dance programs, cooking classes, etiquette classes, business leadership classes, things of that nature outside of the purview of sports. And it, in order to do that, it'll be a collaboration with the school department and other facilities in order to execute that. In addition to the youth, it's also looking at collaboration with the senior center and how we can create more programs for seniors. Because like you said, John, most people think Park and Rec and you think of K through 12, but how do we serve the entire community of Hopkinton? So it's looking outside of sort of the box of what we've done traditionally.
Carol, and then Andrea.
Okay, thank you. So I do think that the schools do a great job of providing extracurriculars and clubs. We have more teams than any other school district in the Tri-Valley League. We're adding things like boys varsity volleyball. We're continually adding all kinds of athletics. We will allow kids to establish any kind of a club or an activity. They simply ask, they find an advisor, and it runs until kids aren't interested anymore, and then it doesn't run.
Dr. Kavanaugh, I have to interrupt you because I have to get this one legacy theme in. Is pickleball in the future of the schools and their sports program?
It's not on the horizon right now, but I will tell you that when kids ask for it or when other teams, other school districts in our league start to think about it, it happens. Like that's just why we have boys varsity volleyball now. And you know what? I think our school buildings are unique in that kids hang around there after school. They don't necessarily go home. If you go to the high school at 4:00 in the afternoon, you'll still see that there are kids there kind of collaborating on homework or, just dribbling a basketball in the athletic center. It's an amazing thing that they do. But I think when we look at our kids, the problem happens when there's unstructured time. And I think, Dawn said we are not really an activities group, and she's right. They're not an activities group. And the last time we had an early release day, the chief and, the entire HPD got together and did something amazing for our kids. But I don't necessarily know they can continue to do that every time there's an early release day, because again, they're not an activities group. So I can appreciate what John is saying about Parks and Rec and developing other things around things like dance, or, those are things that I think kids may have interest in. But you're probably right, John, that there needs to be like maybe more of a collaborative effort to say what happens in unstructured time, and where do we have activities-based groups that, we can start to grow things.
Final word from Andrea. Give us 30 seconds on what the library is doing.
I just wanted to say that our teen librarian here has been doing a wonderful job of engaging kids on half days. She had a gaming program at the library on the last half day, and 160 kids showed up. So she did a great job recently identifying this need to engage kids, especially on half days. And so we're hoping to do more of that going forward, and we welcome any and all recommendations or suggestions.
Megan, you're up, and then Sean, you'll follow. Give us your, and then we'll come back to questions and a few more.
So the communications department's vision is to provide and maintain high-class emergency services with courtesy, compassion, and efficiency to save lives. And going through our 3 goals, the first 2 are somewhat linked. The first one is to complete the radio infrastructure evaluation, which has been an ongoing process for the past 6 months or so, and that which leads us into the second goal of preparing for the capital improvement funding request for whether it be a replacement project. I don't know exactly how we want to term it yet, but improving our radio infrastructure. And the folks that have done this evaluation with us will help us with that capital improvement planning and everything like that. So, and then the third goal, to complete a department assessment in order to improve the department, and not necessarily saying anything's wrong with the department per se, but just to identify some weaknesses, determine what SOPs or policies and procedures are needed, what working in collaborations with the other departments that we work with, what kind of joint SOPs, policies and procedures do we need, things like that, and just evaluate our operational functions and see where we can, create more efficiencies and whatnot. Just strive to be better. And relating back to the turnover question, luckily we generally don't have very much turnover in communications. We're pretty steady in being fully staffed, at least with full-timers. And communications is known as a stepping stone, usually for police positions, but also sometimes for fire positions. So it's expected that the time span of someone being in our department is generally not very long. But we're lucky in the sense we have 8 full-timers, full-time dispatchers, and I would say confidently 4 of those are career dispatchers for us. So I don't necessarily see them going anywhere. Others may stay, they may have aspirations of being a police officer or going somewhere else. And it's kind of just part of the job. But generally, once we, get that opening, we fill it and we keep trucking on. So it's generally not a huge problem for us. I can say once in my 24 year career were we in a staffing crisis a few years ago. So I'd say we're doing pretty good in that aspect.
And again, reaching out to other departments is something we've worked on hard the last 3 years, particularly during the complexities of virtual, hybrid, and then in-person COVID reality. And Megan's done great at reaching out across the lines to make sure the communications generally are happening in a more successful way. Which brings us to Sean. You were bragging at the beginning of our program today about all of the ways the state trusts you. Tell us about your vision and goals that have created this opportunity to be a unique beacon for really great programming in the Commonwealth.
First off, I was going to ask, do we want to go to Gary? Because I don't think Gary has had it. Have you?
Gary, you're next.
All right. So, yeah, I mean, we've been rolling out of COVID and really attacking a whole set of different goals. So as far as our vision goes, consistent with last year's vision, the health department seeks to continue to operate at a high performing and regulatory compliant, we're hoping to operate a high performing and regulatory compliant department that aligns with the goals and expectations of the residents, businesses, and leadership in the community. To do that, the goals that we have set for ourselves include making sure that we're aligning with both the select board's goals, and then it's worth noting that we meet on a monthly basis with the town manager and oftentimes the assistant town manager to make sure that we're aligned both on a kind of a micro and a macro level with everything that's going on around us. So the health department is working with two outside consultants and the community to develop a strategic plan consistent with the regular meetings that the department board and leadership have to align our annual plans. The strategic plan will accomplish something similar, but include a much larger group of stakeholders. And it was actually satisfying to hear from the stakeholders that participated in our first advisors group that they were curious as to why they had been selected. And then after, the meeting progressed, they were, I would say, ecstatic that they had this opportunity to really participate with the development of our strategic plan. And just to plug, we're looking for for representatives from the business community and a couple other departments to join in when we next meet with our activities group. And then, since I left the corporate world, and I would say that it's the same with Simone, the public health nurse, it's been important for us to operate a fiscally responsible health department. We funded our COVID-19 response with grants. Once my team identified an inherent financial risk with the way that the Department of Public Health had set up our private vaccination programs, we pivoted, paused our work because we saw that it represented a potential risk to the department and to the municipality. And we're actually moving forward to pilot a new program with the state that will remove that financial risk. And that. So
I hear you saying, Sean, that we're really after strategic planning, specific financial acuity. What's our third big goal for the year?
Through our strategic plan, we seek to offer a set of nursing and environmental services that meet or exceed the expectations of our regulatory partners and the nursing and environmental community. So right now we're rated as one of the top performing public health departments in the Commonwealth. So we endeavor to continue that and provide, top-notch service to the residents, businesses, and leadership in the community.
We love it. And it can't happen without roads and water. Carrie, you're up, and you're going to be followed by Dave.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Carrie Reed, the DPW Director. The vision of the Hopkinton Department of Public Works is to operate, maintain, and improve public infrastructure to enhance the quality of life for the community of Hopkinton. Every day, you're impacted by something that DPW does. It's our job, and we work really hard, so you can be confident that our roads will be clear, our water will be safe, and our waste will be handled in a way that protects our health and the environment. The DPW's three big goals for this year is 1, to provide safe, reliable drinking water, 2, to develop a 5-year capital improvement plan for public infrastructure, and 3, to maintain a highly dedicated, skilled DPW team. So public infrastructure, roads, culverts, dams, water, stormwater, the list goes on and on and on. It's big, it's complicated, it's really expensive. And the town relies on the DPW to keep our infrastructure safe and dependable 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to meet the needs of our growing community. So the DPW is working on this 5-year capital improvement plan to help residents residents and town leadership understand and prioritize infrastructure improvements and appreciating the competing demands that we've all been talking about here, and to remain fiscally responsible. So folks want to understand, what is it going to take to have cleaner and reliable drinking water while we're also trying to build a new school? Can we wait, or do those pipes have to be replaced now? And the question we get all the time is, when is my road going to get paved? So we want to develop this plan to help everybody understand, what's going on and what decisions we're making, and why we're doing all that. And keeping in mind all these amazing things that we do, this year we're really focused on providing clean, reliable drinking water. We know that people are concerned. We know that people are genuinely worried and asking themselves, is it safe? You're hearing stories on the news all the time, like Flint, Michigan, Jackson, Mississippi, and all we hear about from Mass DEP is like PFAS, PFAS, PFAS. And so we get it. People are genuinely worried about what we're doing. So our crews are working hard every day, and I emphasize how hard they work to maintain what we have. As you should be aware, we're also working on building, and it's under construction right now, PFAS filtration system, which we hope will be online this winter, or complete this winter and then go online. And our town leaders are working on exploring the option of connection to the MWRA so we could possibly meet our future needs. So these are all little big strategic things that we're working on right now for that clean, reliable drinking water. And the last thing, and I'm glad that Gary asked the question before, is this focus on this highly dedicated, skilled team. We have a great team. The only reason that we're able to provide the level of service that we do is because of the staff that we have. They're our most valuable resource, and we need to continue to invest in them and show and value them and appreciate them to be able to do what we do. So I encourage everybody, when you see that big yellow truck driving down the street, wave. A smile goes a really long way. If you see somebody at a pump station, ask them questions about their job and just show them that you're interested. And I think that is going to help a lot, because these are guys that do their job in and out. They work so hard. And it's just to keep everything going on so that, when there's a snowstorm, you can get up in the morning, drink your cup of coffee, go to work, and not have to think about anything. And that's amazing. And that's all I got.
It's fantastic. And again, sustainability is one of the big select board goals, emphasized so highly in what you're doing. And that water then has to go into buildings. Dave, that has you telling us about the future of our facilities and our engineering.
Hello, everyone. David Del Torio, Town Engineer Facilities Director here in Hopkinton for going on my 14th year. We're a smaller department, but the department has grown 3 or 4-fold over that time as we continue to strategically plan how to grow those services. As we're growing more into the engineering services of the department. Facilities arm of the department has done a lot of work over the last 10 years with new library, new DPW, work at the police station, fire station. So as we continue, our overall vision is to provide high quality services to the public, town departments, in the boards and commissions, the department assists, as well as providing clean, comfortable public areas and employee workspaces in town buildings. It's our goal to provide environmentally comfortable working spaces, ergonomic settings for our employees, in an effort to allow them to be as efficient as possible. It's a challenge. We don't shy away from the challenge. We continue to work with the department heads. I work with all the department heads you see and we'll hear from tonight. I work with many of the boards here. I just want to say thank you for everybody, for all the patience you do show. Since we are a small department, we do touch lots of different aspects of the government. Big 3 goals. So as always, providing first-class services to anybody we do assist, protecting town assets, striving to meet net zero goals. Striving to meet the net zero goals, we're working with Sustainability, Economic Development, and Equity Project Manager Julia Chun. From my standpoint, she's been a great hire. Continue to move several energy efficiency initiatives forward. Municipal aggregation, I'm working with her to move that forward. The Green Community initiatives Julie is involved with, and I just want to make sure I thank her for her assistance and help in all these energy efficiency initiatives. I'll continue to work with the Sustainable Green Committee as well, energy consultants, our public utilities, and other state and federal agencies to continue to try to bring in grants for the community. Over the last 12, 14 years, I've been involved with bringing in, up to $14, $15 million worth of grants for the community. And last but not least, I continue to work with the town manager's office in developing the strategic plan for the engineering and facilities department as we continue to try to meet the expectations of the growing community. It's grown so much that strategic initiative and strategic planning has kind of changed every 5 years here. The town has grown so much.
And what David does so well is he is connective tissue. In the same way water is arguably the most important resource in any town, the person who is least appreciated as the connective tissue, making sure everything works, is the head of facilities. And so, David, we're grateful for everything you do. But there's another resource that goes through everyone's life, and that is IT. Josh, how are you going to keep the bad guys away in the virtual world?
That's one of our goals. Thanks, John. Good evening. I'm Josh Gorsetti, Director of IT for the town. The IT department's vision is that Hopkinton is the most technologically advanced and transparent town in the world. So our goals are to continually enhance transparency, optimize document management, streamline permitting, and continually strengthen our cybersecurity. And so for IT, our mission in action is that we keep everybody working. So good looks like resilient and dependable IT infrastructure and tools that support and enable Hopkinton residents, volunteers, and employees with the platforms, access, and information that they need.
Now, the question, Josh, is, did you write that or did AI write that?
That's 100% me.
The ultimate DNA for AI, Josh and the IT function. Which brings us to our second round of questions. Questions for people who've spoken so far, any of our 10 leaders. This is not your last moment to ask questions. And if you have another question now, let me know. Nashiba, go.
Hi, this is Nasiba Mannan. So I'm from Board of Health. More than a questions, I have a concern. So from the Board of Health's perspective and also the health department, we kind of found out we suffer from lack of messaging or proper information. The health department does a lot of work, but town-wide, we have found out that the message isn't getting through. They don't know many of the services that are offered, and or they don't have the right information at right time. So that is something I think both the select board and the town administration can help develop, and we are welcome to working with them to getting our message out, informations out about our services, and I'm sure it applies to other departments as well.
Yeah, well, great comment. One of the biggest challenges these days is finding people where they are. And so one of the things that Sean works so hard on is communication channels, getting people through all the different forms of media, getting people through all the places that they live. Example, Andrea going out and talking to the kiddos where they are. This is something that we'll work on as part of our strategic plan to make sure that we reach every group where they are through the multiple communication channels. Thank you for the comment, Nasiba. Any other comments or questions for this group? Well, let's take 5. Please come back at 7 o'clock on the nose. You have to get a cup of coffee for this next hour, and then we'll begin with Elaine as we start our second hour together. Do not leave the Zoom, go dark, and then we'll see you in 5 minutes.
Wake up, Sean.
Well, just catching up on current events.
I'm sorry, I couldn't resist.
No. But
I don't think it's possible to catch up on current events. I think they're so far ahead of us, we will never get caught up. Oh, who's that?
No.
Molly has a friend.
Oh, yes, yeah.
It's my dog. He is a menace to society, so he's sitting on my lap. We will not be a menace. I think he likes you, Nasiba.
Holly, I understand your dog being a menace to society. Punky's dog is just tearing up the world, dragging 6 or 7 bottles of water in a plastic wrapper across the floor.
I think that's like their main character trait is that they're just chaos agents.
Evil. I'm gonna always stick with golden retrievers. Trust me.
I
But
see
they're,
that.
so cute.
I see that puppy wars have begun post Thanksgiving and the dog show battle for the best breed. Come on back, everybody. We're grateful to have you with us tonight as we start our second hour. We may need a little bit more time. We scheduled 2.5 hours. Hopefully we won't use all of it. And if we need it, it's for vital public conversation. Elaine, you're up next, filling in our next group of senior leaders before we switch to strategic planning teasing. And it's going to be Connor, you'll follow Elaine. Elaine, you're up.
Okay, thank you. My name is Elaine Lazarus, and I'm representing the Land Use Planning and Permitting Department. We encompass all things land use related and serve 13 or more boards and committees that conduct regulatory and planning functions. It's where people get their building permits and have that work inspected. It's where people apply for Community Preservation Act funding, obtain wetlands related permits from the Conservation Commission, interact with the Planning Board for subdivision, scenic road, and other approvals, obtain zoning relief from the Board of Appeals, and where some of the town's open space is monitored and maintained. And it's where the town's master plan and other plans are prepared. The department has always been focused on serving the public, and our vision is that we provide exceptional customer service. We believe in equity, efficiency, and accessibility. We're ever mindful of our link to every citizen's quality of life, and we want to look at that closer to improve the services we provide. We want to make sure that all services are accessible to everyone, that there is equity in the services provided, and that we work together proactively to meet environmental challenges. Our 3 broad goals are to provide all applications and related materials online, to achieve equity in the services, and to conduct a needs assessment of our customers and stakeholders. More about the goals. We currently provide some applications online, but our goal is to get them all there, along with online permitting where possible, and we want to make sure that they're accessible to everyone. The goal to achieve equity in the services we provide involves a critical examination of the services provided through the department and how all people can access them. We'd like to identify changes that could be made in any of the department's processes and procedures and then make those changes. And the needs assessment will help us determine what customers and stakeholders want and need and learn about their customer experience. And that will guide us in making changes and improvements so that we can serve all of the public well. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about the Land Use Department's vision and goals this year.
Notice how when we talk about DEIB, it's not a separate effort. It's something that's done in the middle of all the things we do. And Elaine explained that so well. Connor, you're up. Tell us how that applies to elections and all the good work of your office.
Thank you. So for town clerk and elections, we're really striving to continue to build trust, transparency in the community. And in doing that, we aim to continuously improve the community through excellent customer service and supporting enhanced civic engagement. And that can come in the form of elections, town meeting involvement, but also just people feeling like they can get information that they need about what's going on in government, and become involved where they want to. We've definitely seen our three big goals kind of turn to continuing to find ways to better improve the customer service we provide to residents, increasing the utilization of technology and in all things that we've been working on, and also improving civic engagement in our community. And we find that that's a goal that can really drive all the others and build to support the entire organization. I will say I'm very, very fortunate. I've just went through this last month with having a special town meeting and a special election just yesterday. And I'm very lucky to have all the people who are on this screen with me who made sure that I was able to get it done. The town manager's office, TPW, police, fire, everyone here did so much work to help make sure that we could do all of that and make sure we could provide that grade A customer service.
And notice how it's technology that is one of these tools we can use for inclusivity. Well done in all the ways you're applying that, Connor. Carol, you're up next, and that's going to be followed by Jonathan.
All right, thank you. I'm Carol Kavanaugh, Superintendent of Schools. I will start with our vision statement. I have a 26-member administrative team. We look at this vision statement every year, and I think that it's something we think hard about and we're proud of. So the Hopkinton Public School District aspires to be a community of educational innovation where children are challenged and inspired to reach their fullest potential, afforded the agency to define who they will become, and celebrated for their human kindness. So we have three big areas that we concentrate on. And we've had these same buckets, if you will, for the last 5 years, and they are to plan for enrollment growth, to meet every student's needs, and to build a community of respect and collaboration. So in terms of our planning for enrollment growth, I know every time I talk to the community, I say, oh, look, 100 more students. But by the year 2030, 2031, it's imagined that projected that we will have about 5,000 students in the Hopkinton Public Schools. And today we're just over 4,200. So we will see if those projections play out. But when I got here 7 or 8 years ago, we were at 3,400 and we're now at 4,200. So you can see the gains we've made. What that translates to really is that we are always growing our programs and then growing our physical plants. And when we started our call in rehearsal tonight, we were talking about the Elmwood School Vote, which was pretty exciting for us. So we'll be building a new 2-3-4 school. But I think one of the things that we strive to do as a school district is we want to make sure that we are focused on the environmental health of the school, of the community. So this will be a net zero school. And we're also really committed to using tax dollars wisely. We have taken a look at this Elmwood School and we have whittled away some of the sort of more exorbitant costs, to bring the price tag down. But I think that we can guarantee the highest quality of education in that building. Our second bucket is meeting every student's needs. As we have grown in our student population, we have also changed demographics. So we now have students who have very different learning needs. We have kids who have more socioeconomic needs, language learning needs, some social services, different mental health needs, different physical health needs. And so in an effort to, accommodate them, we are always looking at that sort of all means all. And even though we are not necessarily licensed mental health clinicians that are serving kids with particular diagnoses or disorders, what we do is we try to remove those barriers so that kids can access curriculum. And that's what we really mean when we say we're going to meet every student's needs. So we pledge that investment in our kids' social, emotional, behavioral, and physical wellness. And we want to make sure that when our kids graduate, they are well-balanced young adults, that they're willing to take risks, that they can think independently, believe in themselves, and persevere. And that's what we mean when we say all means all. Finally, in terms of building a community of respect and collaboration, we are constantly focused on helping kids develop their capacity for kindness, for compassion, for respect, and service to others. And we believe that through collaborative learning, our kids will get better relational competencies. We believe that our kids need to understand how others live, how to build relationships across race, class, gender, learning abilities, and so many more areas. And every member of our community is expected to practice those behaviors. So our littlest people, our medium people, our grown-ups, everyone is doing it across our school district. And I know I've said all means all many times, but what's struck me, I think, tonight is that I think I heard the same thing from our senior center and the same thing from our police force. That word all feels really prevalent in the work tonight. So
love it, Dr. Kavanaugh. Thank you very much. Again, inclusivity is not a separate sport. It is the actual work that we do every day together, which includes all of our endeavors for Parks and Rec, now including cooking classes, and now including other activities like leadership development. Tell us about your vision and goals. Welcome, John.
Thank you, John. Good evening, everyone. John Ludis, the new Parks and Recreation Director. Just want to start off by saying thank you to everyone on this call who I've met with individually. You've all been very warm, welcoming, and supportive. It's made my transition very easy here, so thank you. So here at Parks and Recreation, our vision is to provide active, healthy, engaging programs, services, and facilities for the entire Hopkinton community. In order to achieve that vision, we have a few goals set out for that I'd like to present. First is to create and implement a strategic plan for the operation of the Parks and Recreation Department for the next 5 years. A few notes on that. Things that have stood out to me that I think are very important is to gather feedback and input from all our stakeholders. So the residents of Hopkinton, our community partners, our volunteers, other departments. It's important to listen to them and gain that feedback in order to make change for the better. It also starts with our staff here in the department. So like to provide increased training and support to all our full-time, part-time staff, and also our volunteers, which we require to run a lot of our programs. I'd also like to focus on our fiscal responsibility and procurement law, just to make sure that we're doing everything the correct way. Our next goal, which is a little more specific, is work towards completion of all pending projects, including but not limited to the removal and installation of the new cricket carpet at the Fruit Street Fields, completion of the Fruit Street pickleball and tennis courts, completion of the EMC skate park, the shade structure at the Fruit Street dog park, additional security cameras at Fruit Street and Sandy Beach, the installation of a new boat ramp at Sandy Beach, and lastly, to begin planning and developing the new Pine Field renovation repairs. It might sound like a lot, but a lot of this has begun, and we're working towards that completion next year. The last goal that we have is to establish written plans to collaborate and work together with other town departments in order to provide the best facilities and services possible.
Love it. And notice how even in our activities, we're trying to be diverse in what we offer and trying to hit people from different backgrounds as well as different interests. Well done, John. Maria, how do we do that in terms of overall HR? And again, we thank you. You weren't on the call as we said it, but Muriel thanked you very publicly for your service, and we're grateful for you. Maria, what do you have for the vision going forward?
John, you didn't give me a quick warning. Thank you very much, Muriel. I'm sorry I missed it, but I really appreciate it. For the Human Resources Department, our vision is to enhance the workplace and more closely mirror the community, to identify areas of focus that are in line with the mission, improving upon areas not fully yet developed, and to assist the town and its employees in providing the most cost-effective and customer excellence-focused services while enriching the work experience. What HR believes the best values are: trust is critical, engagement, partnerships, aspirational, ethical, committed, and now we say life-work balance. It used to be work-life balance. Our three big goals are to design and build a DEI webpage. We've been working on DEI for a very long time, way before it became, the thing to do. So So to build and design a web page to report on the progress thus far and begin to tell our story on diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. The second one is to build and devote budgets, authority, and empowerment into the employee experience. We can use tools such as advancement and succession planning. And thirdly is to design an internal tool with the principle of flow in mind to create a sense of a satisfying productivity for employees, new and veteran alike, and for renewed employee engagement and retention. And I still am going to hearken back to what we've done in the past, and that is to share what good looks like. First and foremost, everyone matters. We want everyone to belong. Thus, we want an inclusive and diverse workforce. We want everyone to grow. Thus, we have plans in place for employee advancement and opportunity within the organization. And thirdly, we want to improve and measure on the town employees' work experiences. And because Muriel teed it up, though I missed it, I just want to take a quick moment to thank Community Hopkinton from the bottom of my heart. I've been here 10 years now, and I've worked this is my 5th community over my career. And I will say Hopkinton has been the best. Hopkinton's initiatives, backing, support at town meeting is bar none. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Maria. Norman, give us your wrap up and your own vision and goals.
Maria, on behalf of our fellow senior leaders, I really want to thank you for having been a fantastic comrade. Your loyalty, your dedication to this community is unparalleled, and we will certainly miss you. In terms of town hall and the town manager's office, our vision is that town hall champions all residents' aspirations for human dignity. Why? There's a simple reason. We accept here in Hopkinton that dignity is the inherent value and worth of all human beings. And so we're proud to have that as our vision. How do we get there this year? Number one, we are going to deliver results for all residents through an equitable, inclusive, and accountable budget process. Why is that important? To the extent possible, we want to be able to meet the full range of all residents' challenges. Examples, we are going to expand the participatory budget process. We are going to continue our equity audits. Secondly, we will support implementing a bottom-up strategic plan for the town. Why? We want to arrive at a shared and collective vision for the town's priorities and resource allocation. We also want to identify the biases that are inherent in our decision-making. And we also want to use this opportunity to measure our progress. Thirdly, we will empower and rebuild our workforce through training, enhanced support, and expanded benefits. Why is that important? We want to build learning. We want to expand our knowledge base. We want to enhance our support to the community as well as to our staff. And finally, community development is not community development without empowerment. What would good look like for us? Good would look like having an excellent enterprise of caring services, financial stability, and again, an empowered workforce. I want to take this opportunity also to thank my fellow core senior leaders for the effort that you have put towards preparing for this evening, beginning with the work that you did early or late summer. And also thank you for the time that you have spent in making sure that everything else that we are doing tonight aligns with the aspirations of the community.
And what you heard Norman say, that you heard so many of your other departments mention, is that strategic planning is already in the work for the year. And so after a time of questions, we're going to talk about how we do that holistically for the town 5 or 10 years out. Questions for any of the senior leaders tonight. And again, you heard a lot of good responses to Gary's original question. How are we supporting the longevity of staff members with us? And everything HR is doing in the town manager's office is trying to create that empowerment and stability of long-term engagement. Other questions? You're up, Holly.
From a Commission on Disability perspective, something that has come up again and again and again is how our different organizations and departments emergency plan for folks that might have mobility or accessibility issues. So when we have a building that needs to be evacuated, or if we have something else happen within any of the public spaces, how are we ensuring that we're taking care of folks that don't necessarily have the mobility to go downstairs, or how are we supporting those folks? And I don't believe that people have to have an answer for it. And it was something that, one of our members had a very specific story about having to be carried down a staircase when he was in school. And it was a very kind of not great experience for him. So I had told him that I would ensure that I would bring this up.
No, thank you, Holly. Very important. Sean, respond, and then David will give you an opportunity.
We strive to provide services where it's needed. So in many cases, we're going out to people's homes or to their place of work. Tomorrow, we're going out to Project Just Because to provide vaccinations and other services. So we realize that, it could be distance, it could be an accessibility issue, it could be a health condition that restricts people from getting access to my office on the 3rd floor or Simone's in the basement of Town Hall. So we strive to get out there and provide the services that people need out where they're at, be it in the senior center or, again, we provide a lot of services at people's homes. So
David, what are we doing? Brilliant, Sean. We love it. David, what are we doing for our buildings for emergencies?
Not an easy question to provide a great answer for. All the buildings meet accessibility requirements when there's not an emergency. Unfortunately, during emergencies, most elevators become unfunctional and will on their own, when the fire alarm goes off, will go down to the basement level. When there are folks still within a building during an emergency, quite frankly, I'll have to investigate if there are legal requirements and if the town is meeting those currently within our town buildings. I would say, working with the folks here for 10, 15 years, I think any one of them would be willing to carry someone downstairs if there was a might not be the most comfortable or acceptable solution, but no, it's a great question, and I will look into it.
Thanks, David. We love that, Holly, because again, this meeting and all of us getting together is about pushing what we can do together, because it's still an opportunity to be better. What do you have for us, Mira?
First of all, thank you for that question, Holly. I always like questions that make us think a little bit deeper about what we need to be doing for everybody, or all of us. All means all, right? I wondered, thank you all for your participation. I wondered really quickly if we could entertain the question from an audience member.
Hi, thank you so much, Muriel. This is Peter Thomas. I just have a question, really. I really have two questions, but if I only get one, I'll ask it. It's to the chiefs, and this is going back to the beginning of their report. I guess first question to Deputy Chief or Acting Chief Dougherty. Do you, from a facility standpoint, have everything you need to continue providing the excellent service that the fire department provides today? I ask that with the context of the Woodville Fire Station, which I know is still offline. So do you have everything you need? And then of course, I would also like to hear what Chief Bennett has to say about that as well. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Thomas. With the Woodville Fire Station closed, it does not impact public safety at all. Response times may be a little bit elevated, but we are currently working with Dave to get that building up and run. What we're looking at now, it's probably going to be a few years before we can get that building restaffed. We have moved all the personnel up to headquarters. With that said, we are out of space. We're maxed out of space. We actually had to change one room over from our EMS storage room to a bunk room to fit all the personnel. But we are actively working on trying to get that station reopened.
Thank you, Chief Dougherty. Chief Bennett.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. That's an excellent question. So thanks to the foresight of the Police Station Building Committee, there is an expansion location in the police department on the second floor that is just an open room right now. It would require some bringing in heat and proper lighting and bringing walls and bring everything up to code. But that is an option to meet any expansion of the police department or any growth that happens. And to the extent of a denial of area, I know that Chief Dougherty and I have spoken, and prior chiefs. One of the things we do is we're always concerned if we lose the building, which we've seen that in town, or even if we have a denial of area because of an event. So having some secondary site would be a big boon. And I'm not saying a second police station, but working with Josh Grizzetti and his team, we've really enhanced our abilities to pick up and move. And with Director Durad and her association with 911, in a short term, if we had to move, we could. So our existing facility will meet all the needs I anticipate of the build out of the community. And we have plans in the event that the station becomes not available.
I heard you say we need more space for fire, but we're on it. And David is working hard on that, and that we're in a good place in terms of police for now. Maria, you're up.
Thank you. I'm wondering if Holly's question was related more toward residents, accessibility toward residents, or was it the public buildings?
I would say probably both, but this particular question was one that we talked about at one of our meetings about how even in town hall, in the event of an emergency, how would we be able to get our folks, our wheelchair users, out of the building safely? I am 5 feet tall and made of glass, so I doubt very much that I could, bring anybody down the stairs. So it's something that we think about in any space where folks with mobility issues or whatever, like mobility aids, how are we ensuring that they can exit the building safely, regardless of who is around them? And I think it's a complicated question, and both for like a residential perspective and for like a municipal building perspective, or even a private business perspective. Like it's something that
It's a brilliant challenge, Holly. Yeah, Maria.
So I don't mean to throw some of my colleagues under the bus, but I'm doing it very proudly. Chief Joe and Megan, I know that the way dispatch is set up, that they have, ways of finding information out anytime there's an emergency anywhere. And I've heard them speak about it numerous times. And it's very touching because differently abled people, are special to me. So So kudos to our PD, our FD, and our communications center.
And we hear the challenge, Holly, and we'll take it on. Norman, you're up.
If I may expand Peter Thomas' question to apply also to Town Hall, since we're all assembled together, I just want to share with the community that the Town Hall building does not meet its functional needs currently. And I encourage the community to follow the discussions at the Permanent Building Committee regarding master planning for Center School, Elmwood School, and Fort Street.
Thank you for the reminder that as we grow, we still need more space. And for people, to Gary's point, wanting to stick and thrive as employees here, we need the ability to be safe and comfortable in our work. Other questions for the group?
Question for John at Parks and Rec. I'm an assistant tennis coach for the high school boys and an avid pickleball player. And I know that John, who's moderating this, is interested in the answer to this question, which is the pickleball stuff got kind of sidelined for a while. Any idea about the timing on that?
Yeah, so they're making good progress. I don't know if you've been up there. Actually, this week, they finished all the fall plants, the trees, the bushes, and they're laying some pavement down, I believe, this week as well for the parking and fence posts. There was a delay for various reasons, the paving of Pratt Way, some freezing on the soil, and a failed inspection of permits, which is now approved. Long story short, the goal was the end of December for construction to be completed, but it's looking like early to mid-spring of 2024.
Thank you.
Thank you for the update, Shahadwal.
Hello, thank you. First of all, thanks everyone. This was very refreshing, and I think this has served a great purpose of us all not only aligning, but also hearing from each other and have a, open, candid conversation about the future, about the strategy and the overall vision for our town, which is very refreshing and very exciting. So thank you, and kudos to all our wonderful town senior leaders for the great work that they and all the departments are putting in. And it's really, you are all the face of our town, and we are very proud of all you do. And the dedication and the devotion certainly stands out. We hear it from our residents all the time with our work and interaction with you all. And as I think Sean mentioned earlier, it certainly shows up that how different it is from corporate, and how much, the added dedication and devotion takes our town further and furthering the work that you are doing. So thank you all for doing the great work. And special thanks and goodbye to Maria. You will be certainly missed. And I totally appreciate, all the great work you have done in the last 10 years. You have helped build this wonderful leadership and the workforce that we have. So with that, I think we have achieved two great things. One is hearing from all of you, which is great feedbacks and great thought leadership and great, I think, plan and goals for future. And the second is how much we are aligned and how much more we can align among ourselves and with the town's vision from the select board that we are also gathering and have laid out, working with you all. Two or couple of areas, I know it is implied in many fronts, but would be looking for a little bit to hear. One is, Norman, you touched on it, now that we have our new school building budget approved and going forward and in an exciting path of getting our biggest problem with the capacity in schools in the resolution path, we need to focus on the optimal utilization and potentially monetization for our budget, healthy budget, and other reasons of the central school and the current Elmwood School. So those two, I know, are implied somewhere. And if we have some specific elaboration or goals, I would love to hear that. Number two is on the affordable housing areas. And again, I'm sure we have a very wide variety of work going on and challenges at hand ongoing. On the affordable housing areas also, in the last census, based on that, we are almost reaching the threshold for our affordable housing percentage requirement. So something needs to be done, and we have tons of, and for the same reason, we are also promoting diversity and inclusion, which we are, have our great vision with, how much we can do and what else, and what are the things we can do on that front as well. And the third is, I know we are very excited that we have recently set up the Economic Development, Inclusion, and Sustainability Office. Would love to hear, some thoughts and goals on that front, even though I know it's very new, and of course, the journey just begun. So any way we can help would be great, but anything we can share would be helpful.
Norman, yeah, great questions. Topic one, Norman, we'll take them in order, is the schools and the monetization as part of our budget. How are we going to use our building resources to help defray some costs?
Quick answer is that the Permanent Building Committee is currently holding public meetings, and they will be coming to the Select Board with a menu of options that the board will discuss with the Permanent Building Committee. So don't have an answer here now, but his answer is being processed and will be coming before the Select Board shortly.
Jahadul, what was your second issue?
Thank you. The second one was affordable housing, not in any particular priority order. I think all are priorities. But affordable housing is reaching a threshold based on our population and some of the affordable housing expiring. And we also know that we have about 3-4 million in our affordable housing CPC and affordable housing fund combined. What can we do in short term and also strategic plan wise, or if anything is brewing?
Norman, talk about affordable housing.
Yeah, affordable housing, very important aspect of the fabric of Hopkinton. The Permanent Building Committee's solution to the 2 properties owned by the town, or the 3 properties that are owned by the town, including Fruit Street, will include an affordable housing component. And then secondly, you may know that the town is working on a zoning proposal that will address the MBTA communities requirement. So short term, those 2 projects will certainly address the affordable housing question in a significant way. And then long term, I'm currently working with the Select Board in perhaps coming up with a structure that will allow for the creation of an affordable of a housing corporation. That housing corporation will do the delivery of affordable housing in the community long term.
And then give us an update on our sustainability office, Norman.
Great hire. We are still going through the orientation process, getting to know the community, getting to interact with stakeholders. We will be reporting shortly on the primary goals for that position in the coming 6 months.
Gary, did you have a question?
Not a question, but just something to add on the affordable housing piece. And I just wanted to make one minor amendment to Mr. Kamala's comments, and that's that the MBTA housing proposals is not linked to affordable housing. So there is no requirement that any of that housing be affordable. So I just wanted to clarify that. And then the second point is, just at the May town meeting, we also made some other minor changes to help encourage more affordable housing, as part of subdivisions that are proposed to the town. So just wanted to add that piece.
Thank you for the extra commentary. Other questions tonight before we turn to a teaser on strategic planning? Matthew, go.
Yeah, a question I wanted to ask was around financial literacy. We tend to take issues in town, especially from a capital expense perspective, on a case-by-case, moment-by-moment basis. The schools is our most recent example, but I think most of the people here are well aware that there are significant capital and financial expenditures coming for the town. PFAS and our MWA hookup just is one of the examples. What is the town's plan for educating the public on what those upcoming expenses are to help them better weigh the decisions so that they're not making continuous one-offs that compromise them against the major decisions that they will ultimately be forced into making, which is how many of my constituents frame our MWRA and PFAS hookup issue to me?
Yeah, the big question you're asking is how do we actually plan and make reasonable choices with so many things forced on us in terms of capital, but also then the capital improvements we want to make that are opportunistic?
And very specifically, John, sorry, how are we helping the public to understand that? Because I'm confident the people on this call understand it, but I'm not confident we've been putting the town in a position to have an intelligent and rational conversation back with us.
Norman, what's our information campaign flooding the public with good knowledge?
we're relying on our town website. We've developed a tool that any member of the public can utilize that accounts for both any increases in the operating budget as well as any capital projects. It's a tool that was put together by Tim O'Leary. And then thirdly, as you may have seen, we have also restructured the Appropriations Committee report that is shared broadly before town meeting. That report now includes a definition of most of the terms that are used in our financial discussions.
Is that helpful, Matthew?
It is, though I'm surprised to hear Tim reference. One of the things that I've been concerned about on our committee is that we essentially haven't had a town liaison for a while. Most of that financial department has left, which is part of the reason I was asking the question about how we're planning to leverage town resources to communicate on this. I'm not even sure we have the relevant personnel in town right now.
Norman?
In fact, you may not realize Tim is actually on staff working specifically on the FY25 budget. And you and I are scheduled to meet tomorrow to go over some of these questions.
And what you're raising, that's a great point, is how do we get information into the flow? Events like this tonight are doing it, our website, our tools, and we have to keep finding ways to do outreach. Like I'll highlight again the library, getting into those classrooms to get the right data for the kiddos. We need to do the same thing around financial literacy of the town projects coming. Muriel, go.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that question, Matthew, and really love hearing it and the conversation sort of being ongoing, because I do think that it is very hard for people to grapple with the combination of the operating budget and the capital budget in bites, right? And it's also very hard to get the conversation in front of them in a fluid manner. So I guess what my point is that if anybody's watching this that isn't part of the conversation and they have ideas or willingness to contribute in developing that mechanism for conversation, we'd be really interested in hearing it. We invite the public to take a really active role early in all parts of the budget. And Tuesday is going to be the first of a listening session on the budget. But also anybody on this call specifically too, if you have ideas about ways that we can do it better, we want to hear them.
Thank you, Muriel. Any other comments before we go to strategic planning and our future work that we're going to do together as a community? Thank you to all of our directors for fantastic presentations. Thank you to our participants and those of you watching at home for great questions. This isn't the end of the process. If you have other questions, make sure they hit our select board and our office there. Make sure they hit town hall. Make sure you write any of our individual leaders, because we want transparent communication, and technology makes that more possible than ever before. Which brings us to strategic planning. Norman, what is the history of strategic planning in Hopkinton? What have we done up to this point in the years that have passed?
One of the reasons I joined Community Hopkinton 15 years ago was the observation that Hopkinton is one of those towns that makes it clear that when a plan is developed, it doesn't sit on the shelf and gather dust. There's an effort that is put towards implementing that plan. So historically, what we have had are the following. In terms of process, Hopkinton has had a process that is inclusive, that is participatory. Most of the plans that are generated by the volunteers. And unlike most communities, Hopkinton has not relied extensively on consultants to do the plans. It's the community that puts the plan together. In terms of substance, the plans have focused on, for the most part, land use related issues. We have had a master plan for East Hopkinton. We have had a land use master plan for the community over the years. We also have had an affordable housing production plan, which we are now in the process of looking into updating. In terms of output, Hopkinton has taken a very significant effort in making sure that the targets that are set in each plan, whether it's a land use related plan or a department focused strategic plan, that there is an instrument for monitoring and evaluating its implementation. One of the things that Amy Rita Bush, I think I saw her earlier when she was on she must be on this call. What she has done is she has actually identified all the commitments that were made in the last land use master plan, and has been going to staff and asking us on reports regarding the progress implementing those objectives. And then last but not least, implementing plans requires financial support. This community has a history of supporting projects that come through a deliberate planning process, similar to what we just had with the Elmwood Elmwood School Replacement Project. So process is participatory, implementation is strong in Hopkinton, and the community support has provided the funding that is required to move forward strategic planning. However, what has not been emphasized in our planning is the business side of delivering our services. And I think that's what the process that the select board is putting forth will address extensively.
Muriel, why strategic planning now?
So always strategic planning. Always, I'm a big fan. But this is a time. It's always a time. For me, it kind of goes back to the conversation we just had that Matthew started. Right, we need to know how we're going to prioritize and manage our growth and educate people and bring, generate buy-in. We're using the wrong word there when we're talking about the budget, but maybe the right word. But building cohesion around the vision that we all share. Now that we're a bigger community, a more varied community, a more diverse community, which is amazing. How do we collectively come together and share our vision, share our goals, and plan to achieve those goals in a way that we can afford and manage and feel great about.
Now, there's an introduction to strategic planning that you all have to think about, and this is information for future conversations and decision-making. And the first piece that you have to decide on is how long this plan is going to be for. So Dublin, Ohio is famous as one of the great strategic planners in municipal history because they did a very involved process. Their 2030 plan had great documentation, great media, and it was very involved with people. So the first conversation you have to have is, are we doing 5 years from now? Are we doing 10 years from now? What is the timeline? The second thing that matters is words. Strategic plans are memory files. And if the memory files aren't sticky, they don't actually work. And as Norman was referencing, they go on the shelf and they're not actually used. And so what's so great about what Amy is doing is she's running around and making sure that we're actually using the plan and having it tied to our efforts so that we have intention in the way we work together. We have accountability and ownership in the things that are most important. So you've got to fight for the right words, because strategic planning simplified is vision, where are we going? Goals, what do we do when we get there? Strategies, how we fulfill the goals to reach the vision. Mission, why are we doing any of this in the first place? And then potentially values and initiatives that allow us to drive our behaviors ethically together, and then those initiatives that will actually make all of those visions, goals, and strategies happen. Now, these are examples of the memory files you have to pick. You have to decide with whoever helps you do this work, what memory files are most important, and you have to make them sticky. Because in the exercise we're about to do, you're going to find that your past vision, while filled with many meaningful words, it may have a few too many words. And so we have to get creative in the new world. And this is about the education of the future financial opportunities that Matthew was talking about. The memory files have to be sticky. They have to live in people's brains and be easily accessible. They have to live in all the artifacts of the town's communication and be easily understandable. The third initiative that really matters as part of strategic planning is who. Who are you going to involve? So in the town of Shrewsbury, they recently did a process that had 20-some community meetings and outreach through social media. And it created then a plan that was very robust and able to be shared and lived in many ways. You can also do what I'm doing with a different community's public power facility, and it's just the board who's doing the work. And neither one is wrong. And as Hopkinton is such an engaged community, you have to make sure that everybody who wants to have a voice can be reached, and you give methodologies to do that. So again, to summarize, how long is the plan for? What memory files are you building? What are the components of the plan? And third, who and how are you going to reach out to as many people as possible so that it is an accessible process? Norman, would you add any other comments to that before we do our exercise?
Nothing to add. Thank you, John.
Muriel.
I'm on mute. Famous Lazarus. No, I like it.
And again, the fourth thing that you need to think about is, do you want to do it yourselves? Because notice how so many of our town departments are already doing strategic plans. This is the overarching umbrella. This is the big tent under which all these other ideas live. Do we want to do it ourselves? Do you want to get outside help to do it? Again, the price of that is one thing that you have to think about, because it can be very expensive to do an exhaustive process. It also can be very bonding for a community if you have the right talented volunteers who have experience in this. And I guarantee you have dozens of people in town who could lead this process as a volunteer process, something to think about. So let's do an exercise of what a great community experience could be like. I'm about to read your present vision, and I want you to think about what 2 words, not one, but 2 words jump out at you. And I will then potentially call on any of you for your 2 words. Now, again, you're not getting to look at this. This isn't adult learning where you're getting to look at it and listen to it at the same time. Which words are sticky to you and so important in the old vision that we had on our website? You're listening for 2 words, most sticky for you. Hopkinton is a vibrant, welcoming community, centrally located in New England and nestled 26.2 miles west of Boston. We are endowed with open space, natural resources, facilities and programs that promote a well-educated and healthy community. We are respectful of our past, engaged in our present, and actively preparing for our future. Susan Porter, what 2 words stuck out to you? You're on mute.
Miss last words. You're on mute. Okay, the 2 that struck me originally were vibrant and well-educated.
Love it.
Okay.
Gary, what stuck out to you?
Which Gary?
Gary Doherty first, and then the other Gary.
I'm just going to say welcoming and centrally located.
Gary, number 2.
Open space.
Literally that one space. Maria, what stuck out to you?
Vibrant and welcoming.
Holly, what stuck out to you?
Well-educated and healthy.
Notice how we're starting to have words like vibrant and well-educated circle around. And one of the things you really want to do in a process of strategic planning is find the center of the Venn diagram where you fight for the words that are most important to everybody. Now, let me give you an honest critique as an insider outsider in this community. The present vision statement is too big. And the thing we're looking for is not just a tagline, 26.2 miles from Boston, well-educated and vibrant, right? Which could be our bumper sticker version. We're looking something that sticks in any new resident who's considering coming to make Hopkinton home, to any business owner who's considering Hopkinton as a place they want to build a business. This vision is something that I'm so attracted to that I can't help but want to be here. And it's not that what's here isn't good. Does it really represent the vibrancy of this community? So in the green room, before we began the session tonight, I had a few of us put together a new vision just on the spot. Listen to it and pick out the one word that's most impactful to you. Continued growth, vitality, and a community of respect, diversity, and collaboration with equity, health equity for all. One more time, look for the one word. Continued growth, vitality, and a community of respect, diversity, and collaboration with health equity for all. Now, I teasingly said to Muriel, we just saved $100,000 because we ran the process very well. Elaine, what one word stuck out for you in that process?
Respect.
What about you, David?
Diversity.
Carrie?
Respect.
Jeff Rowland?
Vitality.
Richard Jacobs?
Well, I'm an MD, so I'm going to say health equity.
Love it. Now, notice how people are getting some of the same words again, but also people are having their self-interest have the words that are attractive to them. The reason we're doing this exercise is because different words attract different people, and you're trying to find the center of the Venn diagram in the strategic planning process that really grabs who we are as a community, but also attracts diversity to who we are. What word stuck out to you, Michael Manning?
Vitality.
What about you, Gary Trendle? One more time.
Vitality.
Connor Deegan.
Collaborative.
Collaborative, vitality, health equity for all. Notice how if you just put those on a bumper sticker, you would have a certain group of people that would have an attraction to Hopkinton. What you want to do is find the places where you can create forums where people can fight for the values, fight for the goals, and fight for the vision that is most important to them to be a part of this community for the long term. Now, this process doesn't happen quickly. It can be done by smaller groups of people, but it takes time because over a year-long process, you want to make sure that you get all the voices, you get the feedback, and you work these sentences the way a great novelist does. They write 1,000 pages to ultimately produce 200. We want to write 200 pages of great ideas to ultimately produce a few phrases and the unique artifacts that come with them. Amy, what was your favorite word of this experimental vision exercise?
Probably vitality.
What about you, Amy Rittenhouse? Ritterbush, sorry.
Collaboration.
Notice how vitality, collaboration, and health could automatically be the words we worked from. And what you want to decide as you go through this process is, what's the timeline we're doing this work for? What memory files do we want to fight for? And who do we want to include in the process? The answer is everyone, but how are we going to do that? Questions about strategic planning or comments from committee members, staff, or the select board?
I just wanted to add the continued growth. Like, I don't think that's a goal. Like, so I was surprised to see that in there.
That again is exactly why you do this exercise. Is that was one of the ideas that came out in our just first brainstorm, and most likely it might not make the cut in a final process. And again, this is an experiment in showing you what collaborative work looks like in doing visioning as a group. Great comment. Other questions or comments?
John, I was wondering, this is great evolution, and I think a lot of wonderful words and vision and aspiration are embedded in here. A couple of things comes to mind. One is, I think we all resonated, and based on some of the challenges that we see for our town, managing growth would be a big one. And how can we also embed, our financial health and quality of service somewhere, or quality of life somewhere in there? I think Vibrant kind of reflects some of that and some of the other wonderful, words that we are working with. But those are some of the things I would also emphasize on. And secondly, about the process question, I was wondering, at one point, we want to look at, our challenges, immediate and long term, and then how our strength and resources lines up for that. And I'm hoping it'll be also part of the process at some point, maybe once we firm up the core foundations of the strategic plan, tied with our master plan, where we can, show more execution path for our 5-year, 10-year, whatever roadmap we all agreed to. So those are some comments.
Yeah, in your first comment, you're referencing the fact that different words fit in different categories. And so we're going to have the vision, that's where we're going, but a lot of the things you asked for are going to become goals. And then those goals become strategies and initiatives to pull them off, tied to the master plan. Your second piece of commentary, which is really interesting, is that we as a group of people have to think about how we involve as many people as possible. And in doing that, you have to think about the kind of organization you want to work with to make this happen. Because the way in which you do this will be very much determined by who you partner with. And that can be done internally and it can be done externally, but you want to put very intentional effort into creating the right path there.
Exactly. Thank you. And sorry, I have a quick follow-up, which is also, in corporate strategic plans, we are pretty used to, and I think overall for any long-term goals, we want to establish something of a measurement or targeted state, so we can also measure our success and our achievement. So something to think about along the lines. And I heard, we all probably heard this phrase that if you can't measure, you can't achieve eventually. So we want to also tie that into our strategic plan components somehow.
And this is going to be more robust in this version of a plan. Some of our plans historically have been many great ideas not made specific enough. And one of the things you have to determine is how deep you're going to go. We can have goals, big goals, like 100% mental health for the community. By the way, not a SMART goal, because it may not ever be reachable, but that's not the kind of goal we put in place for a great community. We come up with aspirational, inspirational goals. And then you would break down the the performance goals. So what does that look like? Hire 5 new therapists, offer open office hours in the schools for mental health, offer trainings for the whole community. And then you would put together the plan to actually make that happen. You have to decide if you want to do that as a group doing the strategic planning, or if you want to then hand that off to the committees and the professional staff to actually create the plan and schedule and measurements that go with it. So again, one of the questions you're going to have to answer as a select board is what level of depth do you want to do in this plan? And then what do you want to do in terms of tying to master plans, overall budgets, and long-term goals? How do you want to do that as a volunteer crew versus your professional staff and your volunteer committees?
No, excellent insights. We look forward to more diving into that. And I think my short top the head answer is it needs to be both. It'll be more collaboration and exchange, top down, bottom up, sideways, all over the place, right? So that's how I think it'll be not only extracting the vision from all the wonderful leaders on this call, but also making sure that people who ensures that rubber meets the road actually are putting their thoughts for more executable roadmap. So I love the ideas. Yeah.
Again, what we're doing tonight is an example of a public process to gather ideas. We're giving you a preview for what strategic planning can be, and the select board and the town manager's office will come up with the actual process and then get feedback from all of you who've been so welcoming today in making sure we get these great ideas into the public sphere. Matthew, go.
Question I wanted to ask was, what part of the community are we trying to reflect and grab with this statement? And I'm asking rather pointedly because I believe we've actually had a pretty significant change to our community over the past few years. And objectively, they haven't been particularly well welcomed, despite reflecting a lot of the values that I believe we are discussing here. So I wonder if we'll be having a conversation about inclusivity and what community it is we're trying to build. We've discussed a lot about the character that we wish Hopkinton was reflecting, but we aren't necessarily talking about growing the fraternity and bonds between the existing community here. And that's something I think is sorely needed.
Good point. That's the who and the how, point 3 of the introduction to simplified strategic planning. You have to decide how many community events you're going to do, how you're going to reach into diverse communities and make it possible for people to participate. And in fact, using different communication channels, giving people accessibility through technology who might not be able to come to events or might not have the desire to be in public sharing their views. And so what Matthew is bringing up is you've got to really think about the who and the how as part of this creating a plan and creating the methods we're going to use. Does that reach you, Matthew?
It does. I just want to make sure that whatever we do is for Legacy Farms as much as it is for Hopkinton Heights.
Yep. Heard. Other comments on strategic planning before we wrap up? Again, this was a sample of the kind of exercise you'll do in public forums. The 3 things that the select board and town manager's office has to work out is timeline, core memory files we're going to fight for, who and how we're going to run the public process, and then again, how do you want to engage either as volunteers, with professionals, or some combination to make the process be successful. Norman, final comments, and then I'll turn it back to Muriel.
Yes. Again, I want to take this opportunity to thank the entire senior leadership team for your effort making this a successful evening. Also want to thank our volunteer teams. As usual, you've come through, you are here, you're present, you're engaged, you're providing leadership. I also want to thank John Wortman, our consultant who's been working with us, as Joy has corrected us, for 4 years now. And we are looking forward to beginning this strategic planning process successfully. Also, if I may impose, I just want to give a big round of applause for Maria. Yeah. And after that, I will give the floor to Muriel.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think I want to thank everybody again for being here. I want to invite sort of that really rigorous input into this decision making about how we're going to found this work to do the strategic planning and how we're going to successfully, right, reach out to and engage community members that represent the community as we see it today. So we do welcome everybody's input. We will appreciate everybody's participation, but truly, if you have ideas early at how we can best structure this and kick it off in the way that makes the most vibrant, robust sense, we'd appreciate hearing it. We really would. Thank you so much.
That concludes our evening tonight. Do we have any official words, Muriel, we have to offer?
No benediction. We're all set.
Thank you, everyone, for your
Enjoy
participation.
your dinner. Have a little glass of wine, whatever. I don't know. But thank you again for everybody.
Have a good evening,
I
everyone.
was just going to say to the DPW, I had no idea no one brought them cookies, and I will work on that. Next time there's
We'll
a
be on
snowstorm.
How about town hall?
Oh, no problem. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Thank you, John.